You're listening to The Implanted Word with Pastor Bill Gem of Grace Church in Amarillo, Texas.
The Implanted Word, your word in me.
Job, there again, one of the first books ever written, but now, hey, this increased knowledge is a wonderful and glorious thing, and scientific inquiry is to be applauded. It's a wonderful fulfillment of our abilities as creatures made in the image of God that we can investigate and better understand the natural world. Indeed, it is the glory of God to conceal a matter. It's the glory of God to conceal a matter, but the glory of kings is to search out a matter.
You know, science continues to give us more and more research and data to explain all possible things in the physical world. Technology makes volumes of information accessible to almost everyone. But no matter how much we learn and achieve, it'll never end in us fully comprehending God and His ways. Pastor Bill is going to encourage you today to keep that sense of wonder for God. Remember that you can't know all there is to know about Him. That's why He's God. He is good, and He is higher than us. Now, here's Pastor Bill in the book of Job, chapter 38, as he continues his message, The Wonder of Wonderful.
I turn from my ways into your love. Humble myself and accept your word. Your word planted in me is able to save my soul. Your word in me, the implanted word. Your word in me, the implanted word.
Do you guys believe in lions? Do you believe in ravens? Okay, good. I guess that's literal. Chapter 39. Do you know the time, hey Job, do you know the time when the wild mountain goats bear young? I've never asked that question, God. I don't know when wild mountain goats bear young. Okay? Or, hey Job, can you mark when the deer gives birth? Well, I see their babies sometime, but no, I've never seen them give birth. I didn't think so. Now, let me share with you, there is real science since Job, true science. We have measured the earth. We know the measurements of the earth. Job didn't, but we do. There are Mutual of Omaha, Wild Kingdom, okay? We have some video of goats giving birth up in the mountains. Somebody's figured out some stuff with the, I mean, there is some stuff that we do know. Matter of fact, that's a good thing. Can I see the quote by Guzik? So Job, there again, one of the first books ever written, but now, hey, this increased knowledge is a wonderful and glorious thing, and scientific inquiry is to be applauded. It's a wonderful fulfillment of our abilities as creatures made in the image of God that we can investigate and better understand the natural world. Indeed, it is the glory of God to conceal a matter. It's the glory of God to conceal a matter, but the glory of kings is to search out a matter. So as we make discoveries with telescopes or microscopes or science, that's really a good thing. It should cause it to go, whoa. Oh, like the first time they looked down and you can actually now see a little baby conceived, a little baby develop. Oh, wonder at Mr. Wonderful. So some of the things that God's asking Job had no idea, but we have kind of an idea, like with deer and wild goats and lions, and Doppler Dave can tell us a lot of stuff. Verse 5. Who set the wild donkey free, Job? Verse 9. Will the wild ox be willing to serve you? I don't think so. Will he bed by your manger? Never. Verse 13. Oh, I got to tell you. Okay, this next paragraph, I got to read the whole paragraph. It's the only humor in the book of Job. It's the only funny part in all of Job. There's no funny part. There's no humor. And it's God talking, Mr. Wonderful, so to speak. And he's talking about wonder, and he's using all these real animals, and now he wants to tell Job about the ostrich. The wings of the ostrich wave proudly. You know what's funny about that? He can't fly. He's just a flapper. That's all he can do. That's kind of funny. But he's proud that he can flap. The wings of the ostrich wave proudly, but are her wings and pinions like kindly storks? I don't think so, no. For the ostrich, she leaves her eggs on the ground. Hey, you left your eggs on top of the ground. And God says, and warms them in the dust. She forgets. I'm reading the Bible, right? Ostriches forget that a foot may crush the eggs or that a wild beast may break them. She treats her young harshly as though they were not hers. Her labor is in vain, without concern. Why? Because God deprived her of wisdom. Is that in the Bible? And you say, why would God do that? Because he wanted to. Have you ever seen an ostrich? I have in Africa. They make the weirdest sound in the middle of the night. Cindy and I were sleeping in tents in Africa. And they make, well, I wasn't going to, but they make, whoop, 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 whoop. It's like, what is that? That's God's sense of humor. Because God deprived her of wisdom and did not endow her with understanding. He didn't. When she lifts herself on high, she scorns the horse and its riders. Boy, they can run. Ostriches can run. They're not much at raising families, but they can run. I actually love watching nature shows, God shows, animal shows. I love it. I love it. Because by the time you think you got the animal kingdom figured out, he said, no, find this blue bird of paradise down there that builds a stage for somebody he wants to marry later. And it's actually on one of the shows. I'm checking my clock here. And so the bluebird of paradise comes down, and he goes down to the bottom of the forest, and this is all on video, and then he clears out this stage. He makes a stage. He gets rid of every twig and every leaf and everything, and he times it where the sun is going to come down and shine right there on the stage, and then he sets it all up, and he makes this little deal, and then he goes up and he whistles, and he gets the girlfriend to come over, and he tells her where to sit. You got to sit there because the light's going to shine down here. And then he goes down on the stage and he starts doing his little dance. Have you guys seen this? It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And then the girlfriend's up there watching, and at the right moment, he goes, ta-da! And it's like, who would do that, God? It's amazing. It's amazing. I got to go. So where did I get that? Oh, God makes all these birds the way he wants the birds to be. Don't lose the wonder of Creator God. Don't. And in verse 19, by the way, we believe in ostriches, we believe in horses. You have given the horse strength. You've clothed his neck with thunder. Can you frighten him like a locust? I don't think so. His majestic snorting strikes terror. He paws in the valley, rejoices in his strength. He gallops into the clash of arms. I mean, horses are amazing animals. They're amazing. Made by God. Amen. Hey, Job, have you considered all these things? Where'd they come from? Verse 26, does the hawk fly by your wisdom? No. And spread its wings toward the south? Does the eagle mount up at your command, Job, and make its nest on high? Hey, Job, where you been? What are you doing? Chapter 40, moreover, the Lord answered Job and said, shall the one who contends with the Almighty correct him? He who rebukes God, let him answer it. Then Job answered the Lord and said, behold, I am vile. What shall I answer you? I lay my hand over my mouth. Once I have spoken, but I will not answer. Yes, twice I will proceed no further. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, now prepare yourself like a man. I will question you. And you shall answer me. Would you indeed annul my judgment? Job, would you condemn me that you may be justified? Have you an arm Job, do you have an arm like God? Or can you thunder with a voice like his? Everything so far you should be able to identify with. A lion, a horse, an ostrich. God saves the best for last. Job, you got an arm like me? You think you're so powerful? You think you're so wise? Hey, Job, let's talk about Behemoth. Behemoth. Verse 15, now look at Behemoth. You say, what's Behemoth? It's really big. It's Behemoth. Matter of fact, in my Bible, what they're trying to do with that Hebrew word, they're not really sure. It's a large animal. The exact identity is unknown. But notice what the Bible says. He's been talking about animals we can identify with, correct? Every animal he's talked about so far is literal, correct? It doesn't say all of a sudden, well, let me tell you what it's like. It doesn't say that. He said, let's talk about Behemoth, Job. Let's get down to the really big guys. Now, look now at Behemoth, which I made. Can I hear you say, I made? God made him. Along with you. You didn't evolve. I made you, Job. I made Behemoth. Is that what your Bible says?
Yes, sir.
See now. He eats grass like an ox. See now, his strength is in his hips. His power is in his stomach muscles. He moves his tail like a cedar. Can I hear you say cedar? Ooh, he's got a big tail. The sinews of his thighs are tightly knit. His bones are like beams of bronze. His ribs like bars of iron. He is the first of the ways of God. He's the first of the ways of God. Can I hear you say first? You know what that means? First. First. Like when you're talking about, okay, let's talk about an animal that really counts. What's the number one first? Behemoth, according to the Word of God. He is the first of the ways of God. Only he who made him can bring near his sword. Only he who made him. That would be God himself, nobody else. Surely the mountains yield food for him, and all the beasts of the field play there. He lies under the lotus trees in a covert of reeds and marsh. The lotus trees cover him with their shade. The willows by the brook surround him. Indeed, the river may rage, yet he is not disturbed. He's confident. Though the Jordan gushes into his mouth, though he takes it in his eyes, no one pierces his nose with a snare. Behemoth. What in the world are you talking about? A horse and an ostrich? And then the number one, I mean, the biggest deal going. And you need to know that most commentators, in their logical minds, that most commentators, can I see the first picture? They say, well, we know it's a hippo. It's a hippo? Well, right away, I've got to say, wait. I would not say that's the number one thing of God's creation. I'm just saying, I don't want to mess with a hippo. I've seen some movies of hippos. I don't want to swim with a hippo. Don't get me wrong. But if you came and say, okay, what's like the number one deal of God's creation? I don't think I'd pick a hippo. Just saying. If that's what God picks, that's fine. And it talks, I can see, because, that hangs out, in the marshes and the river, and, you don't want to mess with it. I get that. But then, see that itty-bitty little tail? Just saying, I would never say that's like a cedar tree. I wouldn't say. Now, maybe God thinks it's like a cedar tree, but that's a little cedar tree. God said it's a cedar tree. He said it's a number one. So I'm not knocking hippos. I'm not. I'm just wondering, is that the only option? Well, what are you talking about? Well, I've seen skeletons, never seen one live, but the way that text reads, it actually sounds like, right away our mind goes, well, that can't be true. That's hundreds of thousands of years ago. Well, how do you know? They used to say the universe was that big, and now they're saying that big. My Bible says, and there again, I'm not trying to be dogmatic on this. I'm not trying to prove a point. I'm just saying, you know what? No, wait a minute. What happened? If you have a young earth, theology, just taking the Bible for what it says, and you got to put dinosaurs somewhere. I think all those dinosaurs lived before the flood. I really do. I think the earth was completely different. I do. I think when Noah built the ark, it was big enough to have dinosaurs on it. I really do. Probably a baby of one of these guys. But anyways, all of that's true. And then after the flood, the whole climate change, it doesn't mean all the dinosaurs disappeared overnight, but it means they pretty much disappeared. Job's the oldest book in the Bible, the oldest one. He's living back there around Abraham, if not before. It wouldn't surprise me if there's maybe a couple of these things walking around, or it's so recent that they became extinct, they know about it. Are you tracking with me? So let me see the chart. Which of these creatures has power in the belly and loins, a tail like a cedar tree, and would be described as chief of the ways of God? Well, is it man? I don't think so. A hippo? Probably not. An elephant? When I was in elementary school, it was called a brontosaurus. Now they got something bigger than a brontosaurus. Like they found this guy. How do you say that? A brachiosaurus? Did I say that? You know what that is? Really big. Really big. Hey, Joe, what about that? And right now, all of us, instead of trying to do the math on it, should be in wonder that God even made anything like that. Well, I just want to go see the movie Jurassic Park. Well, you know what? I want to see that. Notice. You had 9 or 10 actual animals, literally, that we all identify with. And then the 12th animal, well, it might be this extinct today, but it hasn't always been extinct. What's the point? Hey, Job, nobody can control that except me. Go ahead and try. I got a club, ain't gonna work. I got a 12 gauge, ain't gonna work. I got a submachine gun, ain't gonna work. Not on that. Now, what's your question, Joe? By the way, God saves the best for last. That's not the last. That's not the last. Tell me you're ready for the really big point of the book of Job when God's just saying, where were you? What do you know? Can you? Hey, Job. After Behemoth, you've got Leviathan. Chapter 41, there's no break. The context hasn't changed. God's not all of a sudden using analogies. He's not. Hey, can you draw out Leviathan with a fish hook? Leviathan. Now, in the book of Job, Leviathan's already been mentioned way back in chapter 3, verse 8. You say, well, what's Leviathan? If you go down to your little handy, well, we don't know what it is, but in my Bible it says a large sea creature, exact identity unknown. Okay. A large sea creature. Like a blue whale? Nah, ain't a blue whale. How do you know? Because I read the chapter. Can you draw out Leviathan with a fish hook? Snare his tongue with a line which you lower? Can you put a reed through his nose? Or pierce his jaw with a hook? Can I see Guzik? Usually Leviathan is considered to be a mythical sea monster or dragon that terrorized sailors and fishermen. Yet in the context of Job 41, God does not seem to consider Leviathan to be mythical at all. Some believe that Leviathan describes some ancient dragon-like dinosaur that either survived to Job's day or survived in a collective memory of mankind, so that God could refer to it, Leviathan, as an example. Are you ready to wonder at the wonders of God? Can you pierce his jaw with a hook? Will he make many supplications to you? Will Leviathan speak softly to you? Will Leviathan make a covenant with you? Will you take him as a servant forever? Will you play with him as with a bird? Will you leash him for your maidens? Will your companions make a banquet of him? Will they apportion him amongst the merchants? Can you fill his skin with harpoons or his head with fishing spears? No, 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 no. Lay your hand on him. You better remember the battle. You'll never do it again. Indeed, any hope of overcoming him is false. Shall one not be overwhelmed? This is God talking. Shall one not be overwhelmed at the sight of him? No one is so fierce that he would dare stir him up. Can I see Guzik again? This makes the association between Leviathan, obviously some dragon-type creature, and Satan even more interesting. Satan is often represented as a dragon or a serpent. Genesis 3, Revelation 12 and 13. Therefore, Leviathan may be another serpent-like manifestation of Satan. By the way, who created Satan? When he created him originally, guess what? He was a holy angel. He was the top angel. He was the choir director. Number one, he sang when the earth was created with all the other sons of God. Then he fell. A serpent in the garden, a dragon in the book of Revelation. Now, why would he do that? What's he imitating? We understand snakes, right? Do you understand dragons? Pastor Bill, you don't believe in dragons, do you? I believe Job chapter 41. My job is not to make you believe anything. My job is to make sure you understand Job chapter 41. Are you ready? Verse 10, no one is so fierce that he would even dare stir him up. Who then, hey Job, who then is able to stand against me? Who has preceded me that I should pay him? Everything under heaven is mine. Behemoth, Leviathan, ostriches, lions, Amarillo by morning, everything under heaven is mine. That's where Morgan has a great quote here. Even as Job was powerless against, he's powerless against Leviathan, as all men are, so he was also powerless against the unleashed Satan set against him. Only God could defeat Leviathan and Satan. Satan may be typified here by Behemoth and Leviathan. Be that as it may, the question left with Job was, can you? Can you? Thus he was called to the recognition of his own impotence in many directions, and at the same time, to remembrance of the power of God. By the way, the same Leviathan would take you out in a heartbeat, except for God's protection over you. You say, why would the devil take me out? You've got the gospel. Anything happens to you by the devil, that's got to cross the desk of God.
The implanted word.
Thanks for tuning in to today's edition of The Implanted Word with Pastor Bill Gem. Sometimes it's helpful to get a general idea of the Bible as a whole and to better understand it from beginning to end. In this series, book by book, Pastor Bill has been doing a survey of sorts through each book of the Bible. This overview might assist in providing context for other things you read or have heard about in the Bible. If you're jumping into this series just now and desire to listen to previous messages, you can listen to them online at theimplantedword.com. You'll find our audio library under the Broadcast tab. Again, that's theimplantedword.com. You can also take Pastor Bill's teachings with you on the go by downloading our mobile app for Apple and Android devices. You'll find a link to download the app on our website. Again, that's theimplantedword.com. Always feel free to share these teachings with family and friends. If you live in or near the Amarillo area, we'd love to have you visit us at Grace Church this weekend. The Implanted Word is a radio ministry supported by Grace Church. We enjoy meeting those who've tuned into this ministry, and we'd be honored to worship our Creator alongside you. Find any information you need by clicking the Grace Church link at theimplantedword.com. If you can't make it in person, join us virtually through our live stream. You'll find a link on our website to that as well. Once more, it's theimplantedword.com. Thanks again for joining us here on The Implanted Word.